Hi everyone. Been quite a few weeks since I last uploaded a video, and I thought I'd just give a sort of general life update explaining why that is. In a nutshell, I was wrong. So back in my earlier video when I talked about how I quit my job with Royal Mail and the fact that I've been unemployed ever since, I thought this would mean I'd have plenty more inspiration and... Sorry, I'm balancing this phone on a really unsteady tripod that's very cheap, and it's really windy outside. I'm filming this from a park bench that's near a golf course. Yeah, weather sure is unpredictable. Anyway, okay, I think I'm gonna have to lean in close so you guys can hear what I'm saying. Alright, so essentially I was wrong. I thought me having more free time and me being free from the obligations of having a job and the exhaustion and the existential fatigue and monotony that comes with it, I thought I'd have plenty more energy to make these kinds of videos. But it turns out that I was wrong. There's an inescapable despair that comes with being unemployed that's different to when you're working a shitty minimum wage dead-end job as well, but the two just seem to kind of follow you around wherever you go. I think it's the the helplessness of your situation. In my case, it's very simple. I still live with my mom, my brother, and my grandparents. I don't have my own place. I don't even have my own bedroom anymore. There are times when I have to be up and out of bed. I have to collapse the sofa bed back into the sofa chair. I have to draw apart the curtains, do all that. And I'm 30. It's a very undignified set of circumstances. It's quite typical. If you're a teenager, then, well, that's just part of life. But if you're an adult, well, there's no... Even though, I will concede, even though this is becoming the norm a lot more often now, we're seeing a lot more people who are 20-somethings or in their 30s, possibly even in their 40s, who still live at home with their mum and dad, who still can't afford their own place, and who lack the social skills, the funds, and the wherewithal to get their own personal, their own pad, their own apartment and all that. The fact that it's becoming more common in this day and age doesn't in any way detract from the overall indignity of it. Because as an adult, well, you're expected to behave in a certain way, and in return for all the responsibilities, there are privileges that come with it. You know, for instance, independence. And what we have seen nowadays is the line between being a perpetual adolescent and being an actual mature adult is beginning to blur. I think this is what Jordan Peterson called being an adult infant or an adult adolescent, and maybe there's all kinds of different words for it, but the phenomenon is there and it's real, and it would be remiss of me if I didn't talk about it. Do I feel ashamed though of the fact that I still live with my mom and my grandparents? Well, I do, but I try not to, because it's realistically, what can you do? I'll admit, it's unfortunate. I could have chosen not to quit my job. I could have chosen to keep on slaving away 50 hours a week, being so tired that I probably would become a risk to other road users when I was driving back from work, being so exhausted that I didn't even have the energy to eat dinner, collapsing on my bed, waking up at 6 a.m. the following morning to rinse, cycle, repeat. I guess maybe I could have chosen to do that, but I chose not to. And all things being equal, even though my situation kind of sucks right now, I still don't really miss my old job. I wouldn't take it back for anything in the world. It's too much for me. There's got to be something out there that's more suited to my temperament and my personality. There's got to be something that can reinvigorate me with a sense of purpose, that can help me continue making videos, reading books, doing all sorts of other stuff. Speaking of all sorts of other stuff, as I mentioned earlier, the indignities of being unemployed and living with your grandparents notwithstanding, I haven't been completely idle. I've been keeping myself busy. What have I been doing? Well, I take a lot of regular walks now. There's a church that's situated in an area close to a golf course, and it happens to be the exact same church where my mum and dad originally got married, and it's probably the same church where I was christened. So it's a church it's a place that has great sentimental value to me, and I visit it a lot. It's about 30 or 40 minute walking distance from where we live. So I'm certainly not wanting for any exercise or anything, but the reason why I take regular walks over to the church and back, well, there's one key reason. See, this is what I've lately been doing. I ordered one of these from Amazon. This is a tally clicker, a really cheap one. You can get this for like 4 or 5 quid. What I've been trying to do is practice walking meditation or mindfulness. Now, I've never spoken about this before, but I used to be a Buddhist. Well, there used to be a Buddhist circle in Woking where I used to live. It used to be it was an organization called New Buddha Way, and it's fronted by a man called Jeffrey Hunt, who is Professor Emeritus of Ethics at the University of Surrey. And he's a very bright and intellectually curious man, and he's read through the entire Tipitaka scrolls of the Buddha, and I think he's helped condense my understanding of essentially what Buddhism is and what it is at its core. Buddhism actually is kind of misleading. Buddhists don't like it when they're called that. What they prefer it to be called is Buddha Dharma, that is the teachings of the awakened one. And there's a whole system that there's an entire map. There's a set of prescriptions one must follow in their daily lives, in their day-to-day lives, if one is to achieve enlightenment or nibbana. If you have a surface level understanding of Buddhism, the idea is essentially we are all trapped in this endless cycle of rebirth and death and suffering, which is called samsara, and there's only one way to escape this, and that is through reaching nibbana, enlightenment, or nirvana. I call it nibbana because I don't want it to be confused with that American rock band. But essentially, there's a mindfulness. Reaching mindfulness is one of the steps through which you follow in order to attain nibbana. But mindfulness is only one step. There's 7 others. It's called the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, my memory is not perfect, so I don't know if I remember all the prescriptions of the Noble Eightfold Path, but let's see if I can do. Right thought, right action, right speech, right intention, I think, right mindfulness. There's 3 others. I probably haven't even given them in the correct order. But yes, so reaching right mindfulness, how does one do that? Well, mindfulness, as I understand it, is another word for concentration. That is, immersing yourself completely in the spirit of the moment, where you are processing sensory information as it comes without any kind of judgment or thought. The thoughts, feelings, emotions will flood your mind and attempt to distract you, but you won't be distracted by them, or you will take note of them briefly, but then pay attention again to what it is you're doing. And traditionally, the best way to meditate has been while you're sat down, typically on a cushion. But I think the Buddha himself meditated, how many days was it? 12 or 13 days under an oak tree before he finally reached enlightenment, Nibbana. But seated meditation is only one method of meditating. There's a lot of other ways you can meditate. There's walking meditation, for instance, because meditation, there's a bit of a misunderstanding. You don't actually need to be sat down in order to meditate. It certainly helps. But the way you go about attaining mindfulness is, as I understand it, now, not that I claim to be an expert or nothing, and if there's any spiritual leaders in the comments who think that I'm talking rubbish, that think that I'm not giving real, helpful, constructive advice, I welcome your input, by the way. But anyway, my understanding of how you attain Nibbana is how to meditate properly. That is, you have to pay close attention to your senses. Typically, this involves breathing in and out. The Buddha makes several references to when you are breathing in and out, you think to yourself consciously, I am breathing in, and then when you breathe out, you think to yourself, I am breathing out. You're paying attention to the rhythm of your breaths, the length, the duration and all that. Thoughts will come and occupy your mind for a brief moment, but you've got to not allow yourself to be distracted or carried away by them. And if you think it's easy, if it sounds easy and straightforward, I can assure you it is really difficult and strenuous. It's very what's the word? Mentally, it's very labor intensive, and it consumes a lot of energy. I've barely been able to meditate for any longer than 30 minutes, and most of the time I don't even manage that. But anyway, where does this tally clicker come in? Well, what I've been trying to do is, I've been going on these walks to the church, the churchyard. There's a bench that's in the churchyard where I sit down for a moment and then I walk back. Each time an unwanted distraction or thought comes into my head, I click the tally, like so. This helps me keep track of how many random intrusive thoughts that I have at any given time while I'm on one of these meditation walks. Now, so far the tally says 135. So that's quite a lot, but it's probably not a completely accurate number for a number of reasons. Firstly, there are times where I get so fixated on one particular intrusive thought. It could be something that's resurfaced from the distant past in my childhood that causes me great distress and anger and distracts me. And I become so frustrated, I end up pressing the tally 3 or 5 times in the hopes that it will help me concentrate harder and drag myself away from it. But I have been keeping track of the score on the tally clicker over time, and my overall goal is something like this. The more times I attempt to go on these solitary meditative walks with the tally clicker, my thinking is, over time, the number of unwanted thoughts on the tally clicker will decrease, because I will get better and better at it. At least that's my reckoning. That's my thinking of it. And I had something of an epiphany weeks ago. I was lying in bed. I was really miserable and up against it. I just felt that my life was going absolutely nowhere. Having really dark thoughts. I don't think I'm allowed to express just how dark those thoughts were on YouTube or anything, but yes, they're exactly what you think they might have been. I was even thinking of scouting for a location to actually do it. But I came to a realization. I realized, essentially, everything that's going wrong in my life, at its core, it all traces back to my brain, to my mind. My mind keeps revisiting these unwanted and intrusive thoughts, these scenes from my early childhood where I acted in an inappropriate manner, where I said something clumsy or stupid or offensive. And my brain keeps revisiting these episodes as a means of controlling me, as a means of warning me, this happened before, it can happen again if you're not careful. You will not. Do you really think that you've moved on? I promise you, you're only one false step away from making this happen again. You're never going to change, you know. It just occurred, and a thing that I've learned is, I despise myself. I truly hate myself. Many times I often think I will never, ever truly learn to love myself or respect myself because I can't will myself into being the person that I ought to be in order to become respected, loved, and valued by society. Objectively speaking, everything about that, I'm not wrong to think that. I'm in my 30s. I haven't been in a relationship in many years. Probably never will ever again. I desire sex but will never get it. I've all checked out of the dating market at this point. But more than that, there are so many material goods that I want to get. I want to get a house for a start. But I'm no closer to getting that than I was 10 years ago when I just moved out of university. It's 8 years ago actually, but whatever. I don't have any marketable skills that can make me valued or useful in society. And while I'm conscious, while I'm aware, while I'm cognizant of the fact that there are many other men in my age bracket who feel the same way about life, it doesn't make me feel any better about my situation. This consolation that it's a generational problem and it's not just you as an individual. I will always be cursed. Hello there. Sorry, there's a dog that's just come along. See, I will always be plagued by this inescapable refrain in the back of your mind, and chances are you all hear it, you've all heard it, and you've tried not to. You are the one who's responsible for your own situation. You did this to yourself. You just need to work harder. It doesn't matter how hard you worked in the past, you didn't work hard enough. That's the way life is, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And you've no one to blame for the situation other than yourself. Thinking about your life from that kind of perspective, it all does seem rather bleak and pointless. There is absolutely a crisis of meaning in the current generation. And I wish I had the ability to help these people. I wish I had some profound wisdom or insight that could help break the spell. But I don't. I'm not qualified to help these people. All I can do is document my own struggles, my own quest for meaning, as it were. And if I find the answer, if I do manage to dig myself out, well, you guys will certainly be the first to know. But until that time comes, I'm stuck here like the rest of you. Anyway, it was I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but I was lying in bed having these thoughts, And I realized that my brain, my mind, is the one that is responsible for getting me in this situation. My mind is the one that's doing all this to me, so I have to conquer my mind. I have to rewire the neurological circuitry of my brain so that it gives me constructive and positive feedback, so that I can interpret and integrate my lived reality, my lived experience differently to how it does currently and how it has been doing for the past 20 or 30 years of my life. Because I'm not going to be a young man forever. I'll be 50, I'll be 60. Well, assuming I live that long, to be honest, that's actually kind of debatable, seeing as I lost my dad before the age of 70, and anything can happen. But I feel like I owe it to myself to give it a try, to fight this Leviathan, to slay the dragon. It's not going to be an easy dragon to fight. But that is one of the main reasons why I've been going on these meditative walks. In addition to that, well, I've been keeping myself busy in other ways. I've been listening to and composing music, again, on Logic. I don't really talk about or share my music on this channel, but if anyone's interested, I could share it with you privately. The problem is, I feel like my music it's not meant to be, it's too niche, it's too esoteric. I feel like most people wouldn't get or understand it. I could share it with you guys if you want, but anyway, maybe some other time. Also, I've been doing something, to my credit, I'll credit myself here, I've been doing something that I haven't done in years. I have been drawing. I haven't spoken about drawing or sketching or art, because if I'm going to be honest with myself, drawing is not something that comes naturally to me. I wasn't raised within an artistic family. I don't come from an artistic background. I kind of suck at drawing. I am colorblind. I have strong Dutan color blindness, which is something I haven't talked about, but yeah, that actually kind of, it impairs my ability to distinguish between different colors, and my visual memory is just not that good. When it comes to actually studying and drawing something from observation, I don't think I'm too bad, but if I'm drawing something from memory, it is shit. Really, really terrible. So I'm trying to work at getting better at that. And drawing is, the good thing about drawing is, again, you can track your progress over time. You'll be able to look back on your earlier drawings and tell if you've improved or not. But also, it's an art that requires concentration. And if you're concentrating, you are basically meditating, because that's essentially what meditating is. You are focusing your energy and willpower in taking in information and nothing else. I do think that drawing is a form of meditation, or some people might dispute that, but it certainly is for me, because I have to work really hard at it. I have to pay close attention to what I'm looking at. I have to focus and make sure my proportions are all correct. And I don't know how long I'll keep it up for, but so far I'm kind of enjoying it. Maybe one day I'll share with you the results of my drawings. Don't expect to be blown over or amazed. Like I'm the next what's the name? Like I'm the next Leonardo da Vinci or Botticelli or whatever. I can't promise you anything like that. But anyway, it's this video's been longer than I intended it to be, but yeah, that's essentially what I've been doing these past few months. I've been trying to navigate the despair of a somewhat futile and purposeless existence while being unemployed and living with my grandparents. I'm trying to track my progress over time. I'm trying to train myself to be more constructive and positive, and I'm learning to draw and compose music. What have you guys been up to? Anyway, I'm going to be headed back home now, but maybe I'll record more vlogs like this. Maybe I'll go and visit these park benches with this tripod. It's nice being out here, away from where my family can eavesdrop and overhear things I'm saying. It's quite peaceful being surrounded by nature, even if the wind can be a bit too loud. Maybe I'll do this more often. Who knows? Anyway, you guys take care. This has been Tracking. I'll catch you later. See you in another video.